Hi, good evening. My name's Mindy Beenstock, and I've been married to David for almost 38 years. I'm a full-time working mother with Kanainahara, a large family, and I'm a coper. My attitude has always been that my kids are my responsibility, and if there was a problem, it's my problem, and I pride myself on that. My third to youngest child is Menachem Mendel. He's now 25 and he lives at home. He was a beautiful blonde baby and toddler. But as he was coming up to 3, by which time I had another child, Sarah, it was obvious that he was not developing like his older siblings. He didn't seem to hear us. He wasn't talking. We even thought he might be deaf. Eventually, he was diagnosed with autism. He was utterly fearless. You needed eyes in the back of your head. One day I was vacuuming, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't schlep the vacuum cleaner. I kept pulling and pulling the cord, and I turned and I realized that it was wrapped around his neck. Another time he climbed on the roof of the house, and I had to climb up after him to get him down. Even today, our upstairs windows have to be secured shut at all times. Many times I've said that there's an angel on my shoulder prompting me to check on him and make sure he's okay and to keep him out of danger. And he just didn't sleep. I mean, he did not sleep. By 7 or 8, he had begun to have seizures and he developed epilepsy. I didn't have any family in Manchester, or in the UK for that matter, to support me. My mother-in-law was elderly and didn't connect with my son. And Sarah, who was my baby at the time, was a screamer. Say hello, Sarah. I was working full-time and I was exhausted. Frankly, I felt like falling apart, but I kept telling myself, pull yourself together, and being the coper that I am, and I pride myself on, I did not consider asking for any help. But I had a wise health visitor with other ideas who was insistent that I needed professional support in looking after Menachem Mendel. It took a heck of a lot for me to give her permission, but eventually I allowed her to make the referral to the Fed. And before long, a wonderful lady named Carol came to my house to assess what help we needed, and from then on, Project Smiles came to my rescue 3 times a week. Someone would take out Menachem Mendel and Sarah, or keep him occupied at home, and I was able to switch off, rest, recharge, or just be with my other children because they were missing out due to Menachem Mendel taking up so much of my attention and time. That was 22 years ago, and that is where my journey with the Fed began. Project Smiles gave me the help that I desperately needed. As he got bigger, he got harder. He continued to have massive meltdowns, and to relieve his stress, he would throw things, break things, and he would totally trash his room, completely trash it. No doors on the cupboards, gaping holes in the walls, and plaster chipping off. It was total chaos. Those Project Smile workers were my lifesavers, but the few hours of help weren't enough. So I was offered respite care for him to go stay with the foster family for a weekend or a few days to give us a total break as a family. But I couldn't allow it. I was terrified he would trash somebody else's house. Eventually, when he was 8, the Fed offered to take him on one of their respite holidays. And in desperation, I finally agreed. Letting go was very, very hard, but I trusted the Fed, and he loved it. At 25 now, he's a man who can make some of his own choices, but he is still as vulnerable as a small child, and in many ways still needs a support worker. Though today, this is via Salford City Council and rather than Project Smiles. The Fed continues to be part of my life, supporting me as Menachem Mendel's main carer, providing signposting, care, concern, practical advice, and support as and when I need it. I've had hours of help filling in the stupid nightmare forms for disability benefits for Menachem Mendel and for PIP, personal independence payments, to support the fund, to support his needs, to fund the support he needs with everyday living and getting around. You can't imagine the stress, the extra stress that filling in these forms places on an already high-pressure life, and the relief of someone coming to help you. In the last year or two, the Fed helped us transform our son's bedroom. After years of trashing, it was in horrendous state, and we simply did not have the money to fix it up. It needed total stripping. Stripping out completely, replastering, redecorating, new doors, ceiling, wall, floor, you name it, he needed it. Every penny to do it came via the Fed through grants that the CAST social workers helped me obtain. And this wasn't the first time. On other occasions, they helped me buy white goods, bedding, beds. Now he takes such pride in his room. But caring for him gets harder and harder. He's extremely sensitive to noise. This year at our second Seder, it was absolute hell. He couldn't cope with all the children running around and all the noise, and it was too much for him. He was very distressed, throwing things, swearing, and I'm getting older and more tired. He's really badly affected by change too, and as one by one his siblings have left the house, he has found that very, very hard to handle. On top of this, the pandemic has triggered his anxiety massively too. He is terrified if someone so much as coughs. Every change can bring a huge meltdown, and with him screaming and being violent. Just this Pesach, he was devastated when one of my daughters was going back to New York. He was crying, and she was packing the suitcase, and he was unpacking it. As fast as she was packing it, he was throwing everything out. Nothing breaks my heart more than to see him so distressed. If the Fed didn't exist, I would have lost my sanity years ago. The Fed enabled me to do the things I could never have done. Visiting my family in California, going to one of my children's weddings in New York, and enabling Menachem Mendel to learn to cope with staying away for a few days and not be homesick. More recently, I was helped to organize power of attorney for Menachem Mendel, and the Fed workers just took it off my plate. Why should you support the Fed? Because without you, I would not have managed 22 years ago. And without you, I wouldn't be able to manage now. Your satisfaction in donating to the Fed is seeing me here and now and knowing that I managed to raise my whole family and I didn't crack up. All the help I've received and I'm still receiving is because of every single one of you. As I stand before you, I know there's another huge change that Menachem Mendel is going to have to deal with, which will turn his and our entire family's life upside down. A change that will mean we need the Fed's support more than ever. My husband was recently diagnosed with terminal cancer, and I've yet to explain this to Menachem Mendel. while I dread what lies ahead for us, one thing I do know is that the Fed will be there, and the wonderful people who work there will be there for me as a constant source of kindness and professional support, but not without you. Thank you very much for listening to me.